Assalamu alaikum. We are from Group 8. In this video, we are doing a country assessment on Jordan for Brahim's international expansion. My name is SAQUIB, and I'd like to briefly talk about Jordan's background and some key elements that could influence its appeal on Brahim's holdings Barhad. Jordan is an Arab country located in the southwest part of Asia, in the rocky deserts of the northern Arabian Peninsula. Jordan was part of the Ottoman Empire until 1918 and later became a mandate of the United Kingdom. Jordan became an independent kingdom since 1946. Most of the people in Jordan speak Arabic, which is the official language, and the majority of the population are Sunni Muslims, with rest of the population being Christians. The economy in Jordan is relatively small and faces many obstacles. The economy is very vulnerable due to the political instability in the region. This kind of unstable economic environment can be unappealing for Brahims. The extraction of phosphate, petroleum refining, and cement production are the major manufacturing industries in Jordan. Other consumer goods such as food, clothing, etc. are also produced in the country. Jordan's primary exports are clothing, chemicals, chemical products, potash, and phosphates. The main imports are machinery, apparatus, crude petroleum, and other food products. If Brahims wants to venture into these industries, Jordan might be an appealing option for them.
There are several Jordan's cross-cultural factors that result in the cross-cultural risk. First, failing to adapt global business models to the Jordan's local market. Consumer attitudes and behaviors are highly influenced by culture. When Brahim Saudi Berhad moved into a Jordan's market, business models should be modified to reflect Jordan's local preferences, customs, and habits. For example, changes should be made to product and service offerings, pricing, and marketing. Unless Jordan's local culture drives business models, Brahim Saudi Berhad have a high risk of failure. Second, failing to identify Jordan's regional and subculture differences. Cultural barriers may be just as relevant intranationally as internationally. Within Jordan's emerging markets, there are significant regional variation in consumer preferences and market conditions, yet within country differences are often overlooked. Third, failing to understand Jordan's local business practices. Cultural barriers don't only occur at the customer interface. International business success also requires an in-depth understanding of local business customs. Without a full appreciation of how business is done in Jordan's market, including economic, political, regulatory, and cultural influences, Brahim Saudi Berhad can quickly find themselves on the back foot with stakeholders. Fourth, failing to adapt management practices across Jordan's culture. Most management theories, models, and practices are laden with culture-specific assumptions. No organizational theory is universal, yet the cultural assumptions underlying management practices are often unacknowledged. Ideas are transferred to other cultural environments without consideration of cultural variations, but when practices are translated across cultures without adjustment for Jordan's cultural differences, Brahim Saudi Berhad can fail and may even lead to losses. Lastly, failing to adapt human resources management to Jordan's local market. Cultural ignorance may threaten a firm's ability to attract, retain, and leverage its pool of global talent. When Brahim Saudi Berhad employ local staff, human resource policies need to be adapted to reflect the Jordan's cultural profile of local employees. Factors that influences employee motivation, job satisfaction, and organizational commitment vary across cultures. In addition, conflict resolution and giving and receiving feedback differ widely across culture, with significant implications for performance appraisal.
Thank you for inviting me. My name is ROSLI and I will be touching on Jordan's country factors that result in country risk. Before I proceed with my point, let's look at the scores to start business in Jordan. Okay, in this figure, we can see the overall scores of the procedures, cost, time, and minimum capital needed to start a business. In terms of the procedures and the cost, it scored 61.8 and 88.3 respectively. We can see that the cost to start a business in Jordan is quite high. Alright, let's move to the country factors that result in country risk. Firstly, in terms of political issue, the political situation in Jordan is stable. However, protests and demonstrations sometimes occur, and feelings are running higher because of the pandemic. The majority of demonstrations are peaceful, but to conduct a business in Jordan, Brahims need to take sensible precautions and avoid all political gatherings and demonstrations. Terrorists are very likely to try to carry out attacks in Jordan. There have been a number of incidents since 2016, so they need to take extra care and follow the advice of the Jordanian authorities. The second factor is economic factor. Jordan has a mixed economic system which includes a variety of private freedom combined with centralized economic planning and government regulation. Jordan's economy is ranked in the moderately free category. The biggest obstacles to greater economic freedom are poor fiscal health and relatively low scores on such rule of law indicators as property rights and especially government integrity. As for the top three partners for Jordan are Saudi Arabia, United States and China. To look at the Jordan GDP composition, the highest percentage is contributed by services industry while the least goes to agriculture industry. Furthermore, Jordan lack of inclusive economic growth. It left Jordan vulnerable to income shocks. Jordan entered crisis in a difficult macroeconomic position and GDP growth per capita was around 0.5%. Inflation slowed substantially as revenues were below 60% of GDP. Moving on to the next country factor, which is legal. Jordan's legal system facilitates the protection of property rights and all land plots are titled and registered. The judiciary is generally independent but the king has ultimate authority. Enforcement of anti-corruption laws is undermined by a lack of genuinely independent institutions. As for the regulatory efficiency, Jordan has fallen below a score of 60 in business freedom for only the second time in 10 years as other countries have outpaced it in adopting reforms. In terms of open market, Jordan has several preferential trade agreements in force. The trade-weighted average tariff rate is 9.5% and 19 non-tariff measures are in effect. In general, foreign and local investors are treated equally under the law and banking regulations generally conform to international standards.
Assalamu alaikum, my name is Teha. I think Brahim's company wants to enter the Jordan's market. The most important thing is considered is currency and financial issues. Jordan's is a mixed economy, including the combination of private ownership and public ownership. Then let me take a look at the Jordan's GDP. From the figure, we can see that from 2016 to 2019, Jordan's GDP grew rapidly and reached to 1.060 billion US dollars in 2019. Jordan's inflation rate has also fallen compared to the 2018 from 4.46% to 0.17%. Perhaps it can be seen from the above data that Jordan's economic situation is good, but let me give you more in-depth introduction to the Jordan's current trends. Because of the global COVID-19, Jordan's economy shrinking in 2020 and the tourism account for only 10% of economy's GDP. Since September 2020, the number of the positive cases and the deaths has increased. Jordan declared a national emergency and adopted the target lockdown measures. These include the closure of public places, the closure of the restaurants and the business, and the suspension of the international flights. So these measures has led to the great increase in the unemployment rate in Jordan. In addition, the fiscal consolidations supported by the International Monetary Fund has led to the decline in domestic demand, which has affected consumption, which accounts for 80% of GDP. So therefore, on the whole, the Jordan has a shortage of natural resource and a weak production base. The financial shortcomings are the imbalance of the public account and the external account lead to the high dependence on foreign aid and the foreign capital, and the unemployment rate is high. So this is analysis of Jordan's currency and financial issues.
And now moving to commercial issues which may lead to commercial risk in Jordan. Although Jordan has many free trade agreements with a wide number of countries and nations for both economic and local development, in 2000 Jordan ascended to the World Trade Organization. Trade agreements include free trade agreement with the United States of America, the European Free Trade Association, the Association Agreement with the European Union, the Arab Mediterranean Free Trade Agreement, and the Association Agreement between the United Kingdom and Jordan soon. However, there are many challenges and commercial risk issues facing Jordan government. Let's talk about that all from the other side of our studio. Let's be with us. Hi there and welcome back again. So the first commercial issue which may lead to have a commercial risk in Jordan is partnership disputes. This can be very accumulated, especially when partners want to take a business in different directions or disagree about who is really in control of the company. Next, fraud. Misrepresenting a product abilities in order to get large contract in one fraudulent practice. The last one is regarding to tourism and travel during this unprecedented period, pandemic COVID-19. And what forecasting saying that many countries may going to have an economic recession in upcoming years. So to discuss this point, we will be in call with Ms. JAWAHER. She is calling from Malaysia. Welcome, JAWAHER. Welcome. Jordan suffered a recession in 2021. The travel and tourism sector has significantly weakened due to Jordan's restrictions on tourism and diminished global appetite for travel that will likely continuous until through all 2021 and might the first 6 months of 2022. The authorities have a few means or at their disposal to elevate economics. Jordan cannot spend its way out of trouble like the Arab Gulf countries, owning a lake of natural resources. For that, we expect is that there are some certainties about entering the commercial market during this time of period. Thank you so much for watching this breaking news for today.